Hey everyone, and welcome to my video about database CRUD operations. So what CRUD means, it's create, read, update, and delete. So in other words, for the database, it's select, insert, update, and delete. Actually, insert and select are backwards. Create is insert, and select is read. Let's just go over this real quick. Hopefully it's a pretty short video. Select, use the select statement when you want to display like user information, for instance. It's to retrieve data from a table for a report or for display purposes. And like I said, it's to like display information. So let's say you had a users table. You could select from the users table, and the users table contains like a bunch of user information, right? Like first name, last name, etc. You would select name and stuff like that, and so what would need to happen is you need to select this data first in order to show it to the user in the front end in the UI. So that's what select is. It's just pulling that data in order to later on use it. Insert. So it is what it says. It inserts data into a table so that it can later be selected or manipulated. So after you insert a row or a record into a table, you can then select from it, or you can do updates to it. So like let's say that I'll get into that when I go into updates. So just know that insert will throw the row into will throw data into a row within a table. So like when a user signs up, you need to do an insert into a table so that the user's table can be stored there. And then it's later on retrieved for sign-in purposes whenever they log in. Update will change a row within a table. So like let's say after you inserted something, the user logs in and they realize that when they signed up they mistyped their name. So they can go into their user profile page if you have one, and they can update their name there. What that will do is it will update their name in the database, and now every time that it selects it from the database, it's going to select their updated name. So and this can be like for address as well. Like let's say a user changes addresses and they want to update their address that's in your database. They will go into like their profile page, update their data, update their address, and it will make that change in your database. Inner and left joins. So what this does is it allows users to combine data from two or more related tables. So let's say that you have like foreign key relationships, or just relationships between two different tables or more. You can join these tables together. So think about like a users table and an address table. A user can have an address, right? So instead of doing two different selects, so like select all from users, and then select all from addresses, you can get related information by joining these two tables. You can get the users table and the address table matching per the foreign key relation. So I'll show an example of this, but let's say that you want to select like all the users that live in Chicago. You would do an inner join of the users table with the address table, and then put a where clause on the addresses city column for Chicago. And that way it selects all the users from Chicago. So yeah, let's go ahead and just, I guess, get into it. So I'm going to show you guys some statements in Workbench, but you can use PHP my admin for this as well. Like for example, like you could do something like select all from, man, why is this so small? Wow. Select star from users, and then hit go, and then it returned me all my users. Let's do select star from addresses. Hit go. You know, it got me all my addresses. So just know that you can do everything that I'm about to do in Workbench. You can do it here. Just go to SQL and you know, type in your SQL queries. So I prefer Workbench, so I'm going to do this in Workbench. And I will go ahead and show you guys some queries. So let's start with some simple select statements. Let me open up a new SQL file here. So let's just do some select statements. So select all from addresses. I'm going to execute this. So you can see that when I do this, you can see that it's actually selecting the top 1,000 here. And starting at the first one. But anyway, so here you can see that it's selecting all the columns. So the star means all from the table addresses. So here you can see like all the data that I have already pre-inserted from before into my addresses table. So let's say that I wanted to select the first one. I would do limit 1, and what that would do is it would select the first row. And then I'm going to hit Control-Shift-Enter for a little shortcut. And you can see that it selected the first row. Let's say I want to select 2, right? I want to select the first 2 rows. I do limit 2 and I do that. Now let's say that I want to skip the first row and take the next 2 rows. So I skip 1 row here. This is saying skip, and this is saying take the next 2 rows. So you'll see that our return will be just this row because we don't have another row here. So here you go. We could do something like select all from addresses where ID equals 1. Control-Shift-Enter. You can see that we're only getting 1. Where ID equals 2. Let's do select all from orders. You can see that I selected the 3 orders that I have. Limit, let's just get the first 2 orders. There we go. Let's get them all back. So here you can see that I did that, and we can do like where customer name equals the stone. So here, because they all equal Gastone Pizza, that's what it is. So let's go to my services table. And this is case sensitive, so you'll see here that my tables are start with an uppercase. So they have to, you know, it's case sensitive. So let's get all my services just to see what I have in here. Okay, so select all the services where price, although I don't think the columns are case sensitive, is greater than, let's say, greater than or equal to 100. You'll see that it returned these 2 because the price here is greater than or equal to 100. And then let's do, let's see what I have here. let's do select all the services where name, like, and then let's do anything that has the letter E in it. So here you can see that it only got cleanup and tree trimming because they both have the letter E. And you'll see here that I used the like keyword. Like allows me to add wildcards to here. So like if I did where name equals this is going to be literal. It's literally looking for %E%. Whereas if I use like, saying the percentages are actually wildcards. So here you'll see it didn't select anything because there's no service with the name of wildcard or %E%. Cool. So let's select all the services. And you can see that the first one was called mowing and it doesn't have the letter E in it. Let's say that you want to select specific columns. Let's say that you only care about the price, right? Here we go. You can specify the column. But if you want all the columns, you just do the star. Let's say that you want a few columns, then you put the columns that you want here, like that. And now we don't have ID anymore. We have the specific columns that we requested from the table services. Okay. So let's add, let's select all from addresses. See what we get in addresses. Okay, so let's practice insert now. So let's do an insert into addresses. And now we have to specify the columns with values. So insert into addresses. We have address 1. Address 2 is nullable. We have city, so we don't have to specify address 2. We have state, and we have zip. We'll want to insert values, some random numbers, fake street, fake road. For city, we'll do, and this is in very specific order. So first we have to define what we're going to give the address 1's value. Then we have to define city, then state, in this very specific order. So that's how I'm doing this. So this is address 1, then this is going to be city, and then state, then I'm going to do state, then zip. City, let's do Wilmette. And this is in single quotes, by the way. And then let's do Illinois. And then let's do the zip code of 60091. So here what this is going to do is it's going to insert this address. So now if we select, you'll see that we have 423 Fake Road in Wilmette. And now let's do another address in Wilmette. Of course, I typed the same numbers. And what we can do here is instead, like let's say that we want to do multiple addresses. So we could do this and do multiple statements. But we could also do this. So we can do comma, and then I'm just going to press enter here just to format this a little better for you guys. So we're still insert into addresses. So this is still all one statement. And then, so here's our next address, and then let's do another one. So we do another one by, putting the comma. And then let's do 433 Fake Road again in Wilmette, Illinois 60091. And like we can continue doing this. Like we can insert like, you know, as many columns as we want, or rows. So let's just execute this statement. You can see here that it executed, created 2 records. And now we can select all of them. So here you can see all of our fake roads in Wilmette that we created. And now let's test an update. Let's say that I don't like that this is in Wilmette. Let's update the table addresses, set the city to equal Vernon Hills, let's say, where, now if I don't specify a where clause, this is going to execute for all of the rows. So it's going to set all of the rows to equal Vernon Hills. So I don't want to do that. I want to specifically set it, let's say, for ID 4, or where the address 1 equals this. So let's do, so like I can do where ID equals 4, and then it's going to set that. Or I can do where, to update the city to Vernon Hills, where address 1 equals, and then let's just copy this guy. So like I can do this. Let's say I wanted to do multiple, I wanted to update multiple columns. So what I would do is just comma, and then, so the city of Vernon Hills has a different zip code than Wilmette, right? So I do want to update zip code. So I do comma, and then zip for the column, and then let's do 60061. So now, right now, 654 Fake Road is in Wilmette, Illinois 60091. When I execute this, select our addresses again, you'll see that 654 Fake Road is now in Vernon Hills 60061. So there's a little example of how to do update. Now let's say that I don't like this ID. Like let's say that I want to remove it. We can do a delete statement on it. So delete from addresses. So for the delete, you have to specify what table you're deleting it from. So you have to do delete from, and then the table name. And then, you know, same thing here, where, and then you can give it whatever clause you want, where address 1, and then you can even do like, you know, and then do wildcards. You can do wildcards just on like starting. You could do wildcards just at the end. You could do wildcards, you know, all around. Where address 1, like, you know, I don't know, Fake Road. So now what this is going to do, if I ran this, it will delete these 3 because they contain Fake Road in them. So, but I don't want to do that. We're going to do where, let's do it by ID, right? Where ID equals 5. I want to remove this one. So I'm going to go ahead and execute this. Let's run the select statement again on addresses, and you'll see that ID 5 is now gone. And let's just do another insert here, and you'll see that ID 5 is gone. But because the database is auto-incrementing, it is now, the ID is now at 6 because it used to be at 5. Just because you delete the row and the ID goes away, doesn't mean that now your columns, your rows are going to start, at 5. No, they're going to start where they last left off, which is now going to be 6. So that is that for delete. I mean, the where clauses are really all the same with each other, whether you're selecting, deleting, updating, inserting. So just remember, select, you can do star, or you can specify the column. And with delete, you have to delete from. I don't think I'm missing anything from there. So now let's go ahead and just do some learn about some joins real quick. So let's do select star from users. We have to capitalize it. So here we have all of our users. It's not that many. And now let's do select star from addresses. Let's just select both of the tables. Addresses. Also misspelled it. Sometimes you're going to want to put a semicolon there. Here you can see, when you run multiple statements, you're going to want to put semicolon like that. Here you can see that, I selected both the users table and the address table. Now I can see that the users table here is pointing to address ID 1. So now if we go to the address table, you can see that this address belongs to my user. Now, you don't want to have to, in your programs, you don't want to have to select, or for reports even, you don't want to have to select, users, and then select addresses, and then link all these things within your application. You want to let SQL do all that for you because that's what it's designed for. So you want to pull all that data in at once. So what you can do here, let's say that you wanted to get this user's address. What you would do is, thinking if I should add more users. What you can do here is a join. So select star. Now I'm going to write this in different lines, but you can write it all in one line, right? Select star from users. And now I'm going to do an inner join with addresses. And then I'm going to tell SQL what columns to kind of merge these on. Like what relates these columns together. So on addresses.id, right, equals users, the users table, dot address ID. Because the users table has an address ID right here that makes it related to this address table. So let's go ahead and select this. So here you can see that it's pulling in all of our users that have addresses and only users that have addresses. And it's only pulling addresses that have users because of this inner join. So it's pulling in this information. It's pulling in the user information and the address information for that user. Now, if we had additional users tied to the other addresses, then it would pull those users and those addresses here as well. Now, let's do a left join. So what this left join is going to do is essentially the same thing. So what it's doing is it's selecting all the users first, and then it's joining the addresses that belong to those users. Now watch what happens when we switch these tables around here. So now it's going to select all the addresses first. So it's going to select all of this, right? And it's going to try and join the users table. But since it's a left join, it's going to pull all of the addresses regardless of whether it matched with users or not. So what this is telling us, what this left join is telling us, is that this address right here has a user, but these addresses right here do not have a user associated to them. And then we can do stuff like, let's add another user real quick. Just so with my with Workbench, you can just do this real quick like this. John Smith. And then let's associate this to 3, and then apply, and it just executes that query for you real quick. Three. Let's do 4. Let's associate 1 to 4. Jane Doe. Let's associate her to address ID 4. Okay, cool. So now check out what happens when we do this left join. You'll see here that it's relating all of our users to these tables, but also pulling in the addresses because we're selecting the addresses first, and then it's bringing in the users. Whereas with an inner join, it's only getting the combination of these two tables of addresses and users. So it's getting what's matching. So it's not going to get, when we execute this inner join, it's not going to return these two rows because they don't match. There's no user for them. So let's execute this. And that's what it returned. And now let's say that you want to return only the users who, let's switch this out. Let's say that you want to return only the users that live in Wilmette. So what you would do here is after this inner join, it's a regular select statement still. So you can do a where clause. Select star from users, inner join, blah, 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 blah. Where addresses, the table addresses dot city equals Wilmette. So now what this will do is it will get us John Smith, who lives in Wilmette. Now, if we wanted, we can make it so that we only select the user. Like if we only want the users, like give me all the users that live in Wilmette. I don't care what their address is, but give me all the users. Then you would do select and then the table, and then dot, and then star, or whatever rows you wanted from the users table. And now it's just returning me the user data rather than the users and the address data. So anyway, that's about it. I hope that helped. I hope that made sense. If you like this video, hit like, hit subscribe if you want. And I'll see you guys all in the next video. Thanks. Have a good day. Bye.